Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory. I'm Jesse Friedman and that is Jack Sommers on the screen next to me. And while we appear in two different boxes, I am happy to tell you all that we are in fact in the same place. Not the exact same place. Jack is in the press interview room at Chase Field and I am up closer to the press box area. We tried to be in exactly the same room, but from a tech standpoint, that didn't work out so well. But we are happy to both be here in person covering this game. And Jack, it was a very good one for the Diamondbacks as they bounced back from a really tough loss last night. They beat the Dodgers 3-0, and Corbin Burnes was very, very good.
Not every day you get to shut out the Dodgers, right? And so whenever you get this kind of pitching, it certainly feels like a very clean, crisp, well-played game. But it all started and ended with the pitching. It was fantastic.
Corbin Burnes, Jack, 7 innings, no runs. He is the first Diamondbacks pitcher this season to reach those marks, right? We saw Zach Gallen become the first pitcher on this team to complete 7 innings the other night. He allowed 1 run in that game, but Corbin Burnes goes to an even higher level in this one with 7 innings, not allowing a single run. And Jack, this was really the outing that I think we've all been kind of waiting for with Corbin Burnes. We've talked about it a lot, that there have been some steps in the right direction for him. His ERA coming into this start was 3.58. He was still finding ways to get outs, but the eye test was not looking particularly good for him. On this game against this team, of course, the Dodgers, one of the best teams in all of baseball, if not the best, Corbin Burnes looked like Corbin Burnes. And even more noteworthy, he's coming off missing a start due to shoulder inflammation. So all the way around, this was really everything that you could have hoped for in a game from the Diamondbacks' $210 million man.
I guess, Jesse, it's time for me to dial back the concern meter. I think we had gone from moderately concerned to very concerned. So I think now we can go to minimal concern. Obviously, we want to see more of this, but this was about as good an outcome as you could hope for. Most importantly, he had his cutter working pretty well for him today. He initially was giving up some hard contact, but it was all on the ground. And then he eventually got around to getting a lot of swing and miss. But he made a great comment today after talking about the 5-pitch 5th inning. He's like, everyone talks about swing and miss, strikeouts. I'll take a 5-pitch inning any day over that.
Yeah, Burnes was early on. It was not a lot of swing and miss. There was some hard contact. For the first couple innings, it was like, all right, Burnes has put up a couple zeros, but maybe he's just kind of getting away with things. And then he really settled in from that point forward. I have a note written down here that the first 5 batted balls against Corbin Burnes were all hard hit, all 95 miles per hour or more exit velocity. And then the rest of the way through the 7th inning, Corbin Burnes allowed 1 hard hit ball the entire remainder of the game. That was Hae-Sung Kim's single that I believe led off the 5th inning. So, this wasn't guys hitting laser beams all over the place. This was Corbin Burnes getting a lot of soft contact, Jack, and not only soft contact, but contact on the ground. He had 12 ground outs in this game compared to just 1 fly out. And that's what, Corbin Burnes is not necessarily a pure ground ball pitcher, but ground balls are good. And when you're combining the swing and miss that we saw toward the end of his start with all of that contact on the ground and a lot of it not hit very hard at all, it was a serious recipe for success for him.
Absolutely. I mean, this version of Corbin Burnes, with all these ground balls, getting the weak contact once he got through that first, inning or two, and then enough swing and miss. I think he started off 2 for 16 and ended up, 12 for 42. So, 10 for his last 26 swings were swing and miss. So he got plenty of swing and miss when he needed to as well. So it's a nice combination. It's a very good formula for him. It goes back to command and control. He was pretty dialed in really from the get-go.
We talked to Burnes after the game, Jack. He talked about how there were some moments with his cutter in this game where it was as good as it's felt in 2 years, he said, something that he's been working on for a long time. And he actually talked about the time off sort of being an advantage for him from a mechanics standpoint, that, not only was he able to get his shoulder right by taking a start off, but he also was able to actually take some time to work on some of the mechanics that he's been trying to dial in for a while now. And all of it was clicking. And of course, it starts with that cutter.
Absolutely. It was also interesting. He said that nobody gave him a number for his pitch count. All he knew was that he probably went past what they originally had in mind. The way he was going, as Torey said, he told them, just get out of my way. And he did. And he went, 91 pitches through 7. Was super efficient those first couple innings, and that really paid off. So, this is it. This is what you want to see from your ace. This is an ace performance. And so there's an old saying in baseball, momentum goes as far as the next day's starter performance. And that's a little less true nowadays because bullpens play such a key role. Very seldom does a starter actually go 9 innings, right? That's almost like a no-hitter these days. But certainly getting 7 shutout innings from him and having a fully gassed up, raring to go Ryne Nelson was more than Dodgers could handle.
You mentioned Ryne Nelson. He was really good tonight, Jack. I know it was just the 2 innings. There was some talk pregame of the Diamondbacks potentially going to a 6-man rotation. That was something that Torey did not rule out before the game today. Wondered if maybe there was a world where Ryne Nelson would stay in the rotation. It probably wouldn't have been for very long. It sounded like if they had done it, it would have just been to give some guys an extra day. But yeah, I don't think that's happening now. The Diamondbacks used Ryne Nelson to pitch the final 2 innings of this game, and it was just 2 innings, Jack, but those were 2 really meaningful innings. I mean, after what happened on Friday night, which we'll get into a little bit more later in the show, the last 2 innings of the game are very important, especially for Diamondbacks fans, given what they've been through the last few days. And certainly the Dodgers have the ability to come back from 3 runs down. They've shown that. They showed that last night. So Ryne Nelson came in, put up 2 zeros, and not only that, but he needed only 16 pitches. He came out. Shohei Ohtani was the first batter he faced. He threw, I believe, 6 consecutive strikes to start his outing to Ohtani, Betts, and Friedman. He just looked really sharp, and it makes me wonder, Jack, if maybe there's a world where Ryne Nelson, now no longer a member of the rotation, at least as far as we know, maybe there's a world where his role in the bullpen increases a little bit. Maybe he's more of a high leverage guy at some point, as opposed to just sort of the long man who can fill in the gaps when the Diamondbacks need him to.
Well, there's a comment here from a poster called Who, which is interesting. And he said, Ryne threw like 20 pitches today, so it would be considered as a bullpen session, we think. So, there's that too. I mean, it's a little bit more intense than a bullpen session when you're actually in a game. But the other thing we were thinking about today was Corbin Burnes is okay to be taken out of his routine that extra day when there's an off day. But if they were actually to try to go to a 6-man rotation at this point, instead of next Friday, his next start would be next Saturday. It'd be a whole week, 6 days rest. So I don't think that's probably going to work out for them. I think they're probably going to end up just staying with 5 in a row. But it's tantalizing to think about Ryne Nelson, high leverage reliever. If they had the confidence and they had the depth to walk that high wire and not have to worry about both health and performance, which we're going to get to, from other members of the rotation, then it would be tantalizing to consider Ryne Nelson as a high leverage reliever. But for now, I think that they're probably very hesitant to let this pattern continue. I think they just had to get this win tonight. Now, the bullpen was, there were a couple of guys available, Torey said, but at the same time, these guys are gassed and they needed the extra time off.
Offensively, the Diamondbacks didn't do a ton tonight, Jack. They probably could have done a lot more. They were just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. They did have some opportunities, but there were some standouts on that side of the ball. Carroll hit a triple, which Torey Lovullo was asked after the game if it ever gets old watching Corbin Carroll leg out a triple, and he said no, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, which was a fun quote from Torey. But yeah, Corbin was able to lead off. I believe it was the third inning with a triple, and then Ketel Marte wound up bringing him home on a ground out. So that was one of the Diamondbacks' runs. Another run came through late in the game on a Pavin Smith RBI double. And then the headliner, Jack, of course, was Eugenio Suárez, very effortlessly hitting a baseball 455 feet. One of the longer home runs that we've seen by a Diamondbacks hitter this season. I don't have the rankings pulled up in front of me right now, but I have to believe that's near the top of the list. And in this one, Jack, I mean, you're not going to beat the Dodgers all the time with 3 runs, but given the performance that they got from the pitching staff today, that was more than enough.
Yeah, and I think we also looked at when they hold the opponent to 4 runs or less. I think they were 17-3 coming in, so now they're 18-3 when they hold their opponent to 4 runs or less. So that's also a testament to the offense. If you manage to hold the opponent to 2 or 3 or even 4 runs, the Diamondbacks are probably going to win that game. Yeah. I mean, so far it's been over 85-90%, so that's not too bad.
Whereas if they score 10 runs or more, then they are currently 1-2. So
yeah, well, that's a guaranteed loss.
Go figure. That's baseball.
That's a good segue there.
Yeah, I guess should we do it? Should we move on here to talking about the bit of a wreck that we saw on Saturday night? All of you know what happened, Friday night, I should say. All of you know what happened in the game. We don't need to rehash all of the details, but we did want to touch on just some of the bigger picture narratives that came out of that game, as well as the Thursday night game, which was a great one for the Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez, Jack, I know his ERA has lowered a bit here in the past few hours because of a scoring change, but his ERA is still 6.86 as we speak right now through 7 starts this season. I asked Torey Lovullo about how he assesses Erod's season during the pregame availability today, and Torey did talk about how he's been unlucky at times, and the defense has certainly not been great behind him. It's often been really poor behind him, frankly. But at the same time, the results do matter. Even the strikeout numbers and the walk numbers, and there's some good stuff under the hood here. But there's no arguing that Eduardo Rodriguez was good in the game on Friday. Certainly not. And I still think that the whole of the season, even if he has been a little unlucky at times, that these are not the results that the Diamondbacks are looking for from him.
I feel like I have a little responsibility here. We talked about my tweet last time, and I put out how that the unearned runs charged to him were quite high. The bequeathed runners, we had a discussion about that. Bullpen relievers letting in his runs, and then the differences between his ERA and expected ERA and FIP and all of that. And then essentially that information showed up in the same order, almost identical on the broadcast. And Torey's referring to this again. So that's become the narrative with Erod, that he's unlucky, but that was not an unlucky start last night. He just was not fooling anybody. He was getting hammered. And I think he lost his concentration. In the second inning, there was a double by Ohtani where Miguel Rojas scored, and he fell to backup's home plate. Then, of course, which most people weren't aware of that issue, but Torey mentioned it during the pregame today and said that bothered him even more than Erod not hustling off the mound to field the bunt. He kind of joked, like, I expect him to get off the mound like Bryce Jarvis. He's not as athletic, so we get that. He probably, even if he hustles his best and gets over and gets the ball, he probably has no chance to throw the runner out there, but it just looked bad. And it seemed like it was almost an exasperated response to Josh Naylor's throwing error, which had happened on the play just prior. So the combination of everything was not good, and he's got a lot of work to do to turn it around. The concern meter for him is much higher. I mean, that's 2 out of 3 starts with 8 runs allowed. This time the 8 runs turned into 6 earned runs thanks to a scoring change. But either way, you don't have to put, your ERA goes from 7.3 to 6.86. We're not popping champagne corks for you.
I've done a little bit of work, Jack, trying to piece together what's going on with Eduardo Rodriguez. And granted, there are many people on planet Earth who are better at analyzing pitching than I am. But I feel like usually when I do a bit of a cursory glance through some of the numbers, I'm able fairly quickly to get an idea of what's going on and what's not working. And Eduardo is a really difficult situation on that front because his strikeout rate this year is actually above the league average. It's up over 25%. If you had told me before the year that Eduardo Rodriguez was going to strike out over 25% of hitters in his first 7 starts, I probably would have said that he's off to a really good start. The walk rate is also a little bit below the league average. And I think what people might say then is, oh, sure, he's striking out guys, but he's also giving up a ton of hard contact. Certainly, there was a ton of hard contact on Friday against the Dodgers. No debating that. But on the whole, Jack, his hard hit rate this season is actually lower than the league average. His average exit velocity this season is actually lower than the league average. So, granted, it's still a small sample size that we're working with here, and this is not to say that the underlying numbers are painting Eduardo Rodriguez as a truly, elite starter or anything like that. His expected ERA is still, 4.4 or something like that. But it's a tricky situation, Jack. I am inclined to think that there's been some bad luck here, and that's something we've talked about on past shows after some of his individual outings. Like Eduardo Rodriguez, this was his final line, but the eye test said he was much better. I do think there is some truth to that. At the same time, ever since Eduardo Rodriguez has joined this organization, it's felt like his command has generally been pretty good. But anytime he's not dotting the corners, like he often does dot the corners, but anytime he isn't, it feels like those pitches are just getting hit really hard over and over again. And again, the underlying numbers don't necessarily agree fully with that narrative, but I do think there's some truth to Eduardo having, I think, a decent command during his time with the Diamondbacks, but the mistakes just getting hit so frequently that the overall body of work has certainly not been good. I think you're muted, Jack. It's we checked the box. We did it. Yes.
We did it. I agree with you. I don't want to just be a ditto head here, but you put it very well. It's sequencing. It's the timing of the pitches that get hit hard, come at all the wrong times. That's partially on him. I mean, is his stuff good enough to get away with a mislocated pitch in the middle of the zone? When he's dotting the corners and he's in the shadows and he's able to get a lot of swing and miss there, great. But when he comes into the middle, he's getting hit pretty hard. And yes, he's had bad luck. I mean, he has not been, the quality of his pitching has not been a 7 ERA pitcher. Okay, right. That's I think everyone can probably agree with that. The question is how much under 5 has he been? Is it 4.5? Is it 4? It's not sub 4. So at this point, results matter. He's got to start getting results. He's getting paid too much money not to get results.
Yeah, it's true. The other point I will make with him is that number one, the velocity has not really decreased, at least not in a significant way. You look at his average this year, I believe he's at 91.9 miles per hour on his four-seamer. A couple years ago with the Tigers when he was very good, I think it was 92.2. And the year before that, where he was also decent with the Tigers, was 91.7, if I'm remembering correctly. So the velo has been in pretty much the exact same range for 4 seasons in a row, and he was pretty solid for 2 of those with the Detroit Tigers. So I don't think you can make a case that this is, Jordan Montgomery-esque, where the stuff has just dropped off and, it worked at 94, but it doesn't work at 92. That I don't buy that argument, because Eduardo was throwing 92 2 years ago, and he had a 3.3 with the Tigers, and was really good. The one caveat that I will bring up with that 2023 season is that he was pitching in the AL Central. And if you looked at the splits that year between his numbers against some of those teams in the AL Central and the rest of the league, they were significant. He had a lot of good outings that year against some lesser offensive teams. And granted, this year, the AL Central has actually been pretty good so far. But a couple years ago, it was one of the worst divisions, if not the worst division in baseball. And so I wonder if that could be playing a role here, Jack. Granted, it's not like he's played a bunch of NL West teams this year. His start against the Dodgers was the first one. But maybe just not having as many starts against lesser opponents like he did that year, maybe that could be a part of the equation.
Absolutely. The strength of competition probably is an issue here. El Gallo, 4978, asks an interesting question, or raises an interesting point. He says, bad luck was earlier. He just got away from his identity. I thought that was an intriguing way to put it. He can surprise them with a strikeout, but I haven't seen look for double plays. So, I don't know if he ever had much of a high double play percentage before, but that's an interesting concept to look at. If you think about Erod's identity, Jesse, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's not like a super heavy ground ball pitcher necessarily, but I do think I think it's a valid point to bring up ground balls because his ground ball rate this year is kind of alarmingly low. Currently, it is 35.2%, which is in the 19th percentile around the league. That is down significantly from where he's been in the past. So I think he's not a ground ball pitcher necessarily, but he's certainly more of a ground ball pitcher than he's been so far. Beyond that, I just think of a guy who generally is working around the edges and has well above average command and a good enough mix of pitches to kind of keep hitters off balance.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, the other part about obviously Friday night's game was the bullpen meltdown. I don't want to dive into that too much, Jesse, but I will say this. I had some of the same concerns that many of our friends on social media expressed. And we asked Torey about those things today. And I'll be frank, I wasn't fully happy or understanding of all the answers that I got. For me, it seemed like Cristian Mena probably should have had the opportunity to finish the seventh, not as much because he was doing really well. His stuff did tick down a little bit, which Torey said, and I went and looked at he threw a slider, a curveball, and a sinker in that inning, and each of those were down a couple miles per hour from those same three pitches, the velocity that he had thrown before. So, yeah, there was something there with that. But I still would have liked to have seen him try to get through that inning and just shorten it up. So Torey only had he had three pitchers to get 6 outs. I did not want to see Kevin Ginkel in that game. That was third night in 4 games, 6 out of 10. I just didn't really want to see Ginkel in that game. I thought he hasn't looked so sharp, and he needs the extra rest. So the whole thing wasn't a well-managed last few innings. And so, hello, everyone that gets mad at me because I never criticized Torey. I did not agree with the bullpen management in that game. But I just want to say it's 162 games. So even if I'm right, I'm going to be wrong 81 at least. So that's the way that goes.
I'm with you there. I think given the state of the bullpen, not only the guys being hurt, but as you pointed out, also the guys being down, it felt like a game where you should try to get every out of Cristian Mena as you possibly can, as long as he's pitching the way that he is. And devastating loss aside, and it certainly was that, but that was a pretty big silver lining out of that game on Friday, Jack. Like for Mena to come in, I think he was on 8 days rest. He'd sat out a whole bunch of games, facing the Los Angeles Dodgers, the same team that he faced in his big league debut a year ago at Dodger Stadium, which did not go very well. I want to say he gave up 3 home runs in the first inning, something like that. And he came out and was super aggressive and was using all of his pitches. And every secondary pitch he throws is still like 91 or 92 miles an hour, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. But the Diamondbacks are going to need some of these starters in AAA to step up. Like, they're going to need these guys to be able to probably fill some pretty significant innings numbers at some point. And Gilbert Diaz did not look particularly good when they called him up. Tommy Henry had a good couple innings there, but certainly the recent overall track record hasn't been great. Torey in pregame availability today said the message to Mena was to go down to AAA and make this a catalyst for, when we come back and we need another guy from AAA to help us out, we make this a catalyst to make our decision easy, or we know we're going to go back to you. So that was the message. I'm sure people were not happy that Mena was sent down and Mantiply was called up. But Jack, I was not particularly surprised by that. The Diamondbacks just are in a situation right now where they need arms, especially not fully knowing what was going to happen with Corbin Burnes today. That decision made sense to me. But yeah, maybe we'll see Mena at some point, not too far from now, back in the big leagues.
Absolutely, and maybe he's going to be the guy that steps in as a starter, and Ryne Nelson does slide into a high leverage role. That would be a pretty interesting development. You never can know. I mean, we're 40 games in, the famous 40-game mark, and the team's 21-19, and Ryne Nelson just got a 2-inning save. I mean, you can't predict baseball. This is not what we thought this would look like 40 games ago. So, anyway, Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah,
your boy.
I have argued for a couple of years now that I thought Brandon Pfaadt would figure things out eventually in this league. Not necessarily as a number one starting pitcher, but as a guy who could be a meaningful contributor to a rotation for a long time. And he's certainly put up innings in recent years, but has not been able to consistently deliver run prevention the way that you would want. This year, Jack, it's been a different story, right? His ERA now is down to 3.28. He was very good in the game on Thursday, pitching against the Dodgers, right? 6 1/3 innings. It's hard to ask for anything more than that from him. I guess the question is, as we show on the screen here, is this a Brandon Pfaadt breakout? Is this him emerging as not just an innings eater, but as maybe one of the better pitchers in the National League?
It's very tough to tease out regression to the mean versus an actual change. Right? We're not as smart as we think we are. We know what the numbers look like. And so to see some kind of regression to the mean or flip-flop with the ERA and the expected numbers is interesting, and it's kind of pulling his career numbers closer together in this area. The question that I posed today in the press box with Jesse was, is he learning how to pitch through that 4th and 5th inning and avoid the big inning and avoid the big hit and the big home run that's going to hurt him and knock him out of the game? That's the interesting, is he learning how to pitch through a ball game? I mean, he knows how to pitch. He knows how to throw strikes. He knows how to shape his pitches. So I don't want to say he's learning how to pitch. That's kind of usually goes along with like a fireballer that doesn't know how to take anything off or can't command the ball. And that's not what I'm talking about. But is he figuring out how to pitch his way through those kind of middle innings and keep the game under control? Is that something that is a skill that he's developing? He's talks a lot lately about pitching to contact. Even though he gets his strikeouts, he keeps talking about pitching to contacting and letting his defense do the work. That approach is going to hurt him. So he's going to have some bad outings with that approach. There's going to be some days when, some eardrums get busted. But by and large, with his ability to throw strikes and get some strikeouts, I think that approach long-term probably is the way to go for him. And he's just got to make sure that he keeps the ball down enough so it doesn't get lifted up out of the ballpark. He's still got a 1.35 home run per 9 rate. I'd sure love to see that come down. Jesse and I have been debating back and forth over Brandon Pfaadt for 2 years. His projected outcome for Pfaadt has been higher than mine throughout this time, and I really do hope that he's closer to correct than I am. I still think long term it's going to come down to, can he get that home run rate down and figure out how to keep the ball in the ballpark. Some guys are always going to kind of be home run pitchers, but he still needs to get that down a little bit further, and then I'll have a little bit more confidence in the long-term success.
As El Gallo pointed out in the chat, if you're here, drop a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm gods, and we are all about that here. But yes, I would say with Brandon Pfaadt, Jack, my big picture where I kind of stand right now, I think he's had a good start to the season. Certainly the numbers bear that out. The underlying stats, frankly, do not bear that out. His expected ERA right now over on StatCast is, I believe, 5.52. It is more than a run higher than Eduardo Rodriguez's expected ERA, if you can believe that. So I need to see more. It's not that I'm discounting anything that he's done this year, but I think this early in the season, when we're dealing with samples this small, what I'm really looking for is like what has changed. Like what can I identify about the pitch arsenal, about the velocity, different things like that I can really grab onto and say, okay, this is different, and this is why I'm going to change my view of a player. Otherwise, we're just so early in the season that it's hard for me to put much stock into numbers at this point. And with Brandon Pfaadt on those items, the arsenal, I don't know if I've seen enough change at this point to really change my view on him. I think the curveball, they've certainly tried that more often. I don't think it's really worked very well. He's given up several home runs on the curveball this year. I think that's still a work in progress. People have mentioned the changeup. At times you see Brandon Pfaadt throw a changeup that's just like out of this world, and you kind of wonder, like, what if he could just do that whenever he wanted to? It seems like it kind of comes and goes for him. So I mean, when he's on a roll, like he is very fun and easy to watch. He doesn't walk guys, which I think makes him just generally easy to root for. But yeah, I think I need to see a little bit more from Brandon Pfaadt before I'm buying into the full-on breakout season. At the same time, as you said earlier, this is a guy that I've generally believed in for a while as at least someone who could be a quality innings eater in this league.
I want to give myself one little plug here over on Arizona Diamondbacks on SI. I wrote an article about Brandon Pfaadt's success against the Los Angeles Dodgers, which was just a fun article to write, starting from that NLDS start in 2023. Over his last 5 starts, that's 1 postseason and 4 regular season starts. His ERA is like 2.0 something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's very low. He's had a lot of success against the Dodgers. He's 3-0 with a low 2 ERA in his last 5 outings against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So something about him allows him to step up. He's kind of getting this nickname or he's gotten it since 2023 postseason, of course, Big Game Brandon. And certainly he's not intimidated by the Dodgers at all. And I think part of it is his ability to stay calm. I actually asked him, I said, did you have a little bit of extra oomph or giddy up in facing the Dodgers? And he said, well, I felt that way going against the Phillies, and I didn't turn out very well. But today I stayed more within myself and was more calm and let my defense do the work. And I think maybe that's one of the most important keys for Brandon Pfaadt is his poise. And, you don't really know generally how he's doing based on how he looks out on the mound. He's always had that body language, which makes him look, you can't really tell very easily if the outing's going really well or really poorly. And that ability to stay calm and stay within himself allows him to excel in big moments. And certainly that was a big moment on Thursday night. Team really needed a win. So, kudos to him. More, please.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. Certainly a good start for him this season. Couple final items we want to hit on before we get out of here. Justin Martinez, Jack, the update today from Torey Lovullo was that in a throwing session, the stuff was sizzling. That was the word that Torey Lovullo used. So We presume that means that Justin Martinez's velocity has shown signs of ticking back up. So certainly positive news on that front. Jack, I heard some of the things today. You're probably more dialed in than I am on this front. But Kendall, Graveman, maybe just right around the corner here. And then AJ Puck, it sounds like we're at least moving in the right direction there.
It sounded like to me that Kendall Graveman's either going to be activated tomorrow or for Monday. Let's put it this way. I would be very surprised if he was not in the clubhouse packing on Sunday afternoon, whether he's activated for tomorrow's game or not. I feel almost certain he's going to be activated by Monday, but they've never confirmed that, and it's very possible that they still may want him to throw one more outing. But it sounds to me like it's let's huddle up, make sure everything's okay, see how he felt and all of that, and touch base with the medical team and just finalize it. That's what it sounds like to me, that they're finalizing what their plan is and going ahead and pulling the trigger. So I do expect a roster move. I expect Kendall Graveman to be activated, whether that comes tomorrow or Monday before the game in San Francisco. That's still to be determined.
The City Connect uniforms debuted this weekend, Jack. It is now concluded this first weekend. They wore them on Friday night and Saturday night. And having seen them in person tonight, I thought they looked pretty snazzy. We did have a conversation about how they on TV didn't necessarily look the best. At least for me, my initial thought was like, oh my gosh, the City Connects are blue. Maybe that was just my eyes playing some weird trick on me, but at the very least, in person, they looked excellent.
They absolutely look excellent. I had a great conversation with one of the clubbies, Sean. You know Sean. And we were talking about he's from Boston originally, and he was telling me, the Red Sox City Connects, the green color is the green monster green, but the font was very plain and there were very few details. And he just went on and on about, all the details, the patch, the Arizona born, everything. These look fabulous in person. They look blue on TV. That's just the way it is. That's purple. It's always been that way. That's one of the reasons, excuses, whatever, that they gave when they switched from purple to red back in 2007. Quite frankly, last night I was not at the ballpark. I was at home watching on TV, and I thought they looked blue. But when you see them in person, they look absolutely fabulous. They're flying off the shelves in the team shop there. I did see some people complain about them online, some quality issues here and there. So, my recommendation is if somebody wants to grab this swag, get down to the team shop and, see it for yourself, feel it for yourself, and, decide if you like the texture and how it looks and, put it on and see if you like it. But I think they look fabulous. I think the players like them too.
The sand-colored City Connects, Jack, I thought were solid. No problems with them. I thought they were pretty good. But honestly, there's like no comparison in my mind between these and those. It just feels so right, frankly, for the Diamondbacks to embrace purple again, even though it's not a full-time thing. I know that's what people would really like. But it also isn't like some gimmicky, Throwback Thursday thing where we're wearing, the uniforms from back in the early 2000s. Like, this is actually a current Diamondbacks uniform in the form of a City Connect. So, yes, go ahead.
Sorry. What I'm hearing is that they're probably going to wear them every Friday night home, and also this looks like it's going to be like at least a 4-year thing. Like they'll have these are going to be around a while. So that's really good news. I got a quick little funny anecdote about this. I had gone to Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and chatted with him about the City Connects a little bit, and his English isn't real good, and I have zero Spanish. And so I misunderstood something he said. I thought he said that he was painting his house purple or something like that, or painting the room purple. And so I wasn't really sure if I heard that right. So I never reported it or said anything. And then we had an opportunity to interview him a few nights ago. And Alex Weiner, our good friend, was there and speaking through Alex Arpiza, the translator. And so I asked Lourdes, I said, hey, the other day, did you say to me that you were painting the house purple and blah, 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 translation? And He's like, no, I'm going to frame the jersey and put it in my room. So, and so I was like, oh, okay. And in the middle of the interview, all of a sudden, incredulously, Alex Weiner just looks over at me and he goes, that wasn't even close. Lourdes just cracked up laughing.
We're gonna have to get you on. We're gonna have to get you on Duolingo or something like that, Jack. Some more Spanish lessons for you. Maybe we'll get there. You guys can just communicate directly that way. Well, yes. Once the Diamondbacks start embracing purple a little bit, you feel like there's no going back. We certainly hope these uniforms are around in some capacity for a while. But that is everything that we have for this late night edition of Snakes Territory. I guess it isn't that late night. Feels like it should be late. It's only 9 o'clock. It's a pretty fast baseball game. But we really appreciate all of you being here with us here live in the chat, or if you're watching after the fact over on YouTube or listening on the audio side. As always, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our channel here on YouTube if you've enjoyed our content. We're trying to make it to 1,000. We're about 2/3 the way there. So hopefully we can reach that threshold here before too long. You can find us over on social media. I am at Jesse and Friedman. Over on X, Jack is at ShoeWizard59. And our show is at Snakes Territory. You can also find Jack's work covering the Diamondbacks, all of his written content, over at Arizona Diamondbacks on SI. That's si.com/MLB/Diamondbacks. And once again, we really appreciate all of you being here with us today. Jack, any final words on this Saturday night before we say goodbye?
I'm sure glad we were able to speak to everybody after a win tonight. That's always a lot happier time. And I see there's a lot of good mood and good cheer in the chat. So thank you all for coming out and supporting us today. We really appreciate it.
We really do. So we'll be back with another episode early Monday morning. We're going to do another mailbag, so keep a lookout over on Twitter as we ask for questions. We'd love to answer those things, take a stab at whatever is on all of your minds out there. So thank you again for being with us. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back with another episode of Snakes Territory on Monday morning.
Good night, all.